morning, welcome to Catex TV. My name is Frank Fortunato, and today is Tuesday, July 14th, 2015. It's Bastille Day in France. Congratulations. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to Catex TV. About an hour and a half ago, President Obama appeared on American TV screens and also on TV screens in Iran, as did the Iranian president. After 18 days of intense and often controversial negotiation, world powers and Iran struck a landmark deal to curb the nuclear program that Iran has in exchange for billions of dollars in relief from international sanctions. The accord will keep Iran from producing enough material for an atomic weapon for at least 10 more years, as well as impose new provisions for inspections of nuclear facilities, including military sites. Congress has a 60-day review period during which the president cannot make good on any of the concessions he promised in the deal. President Obama urged Congress to approve the deal and said he would veto any bill that comes to him that attempts to thwart the deal. In Tehran, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said that a new chapter has begun in his nation's relations with the world. In Japan, Typhoon Nanga remains on a collision course with the country for later this week, posing significant dangers to both lives and property. Strengthening Nanga will pose a threat only to shipping interests through Wednesday, but by Thursday it's going to be talking about making landfall. It's going to hit after dark on Thursday, local time. Latest indications are that it's going to hit Shikoku Island directly. The strength at that time will be equal to a minimal Category 3 hurricane in the Atlantic, with maximum sustained winds of about 95 to 120 miles per hour. Shikoku and neighboring parts of Kyushu and southern Honshu face Nanga's destructive winds. Residents have been ordered to take any necessary precautions, including evacuation. Osaka is one of the cities in line of the storm. The storm has also precipitated warnings to two cat bonds. There is a cat bond of about $99 million called Aozora Re, which protects Sompo Japan Nippon against a typhoon loss above about $4.2 billion. And then also Mitsui Sumitomo's $130 million Akabar 2 bond covers against wind and flood losses on a model basis, using Swiss Re's capital markets as a fronting entity. So investors in those two bonds have their eyes on the weather in Japan. Meanwhile, in Athens today, Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras must feel like a human punching bag. He's being pummeled by his own members of parliament in the Syriza party, saying that the deal that he agreed to in Brussels is simply too much. He's attempted now to reach out in a cross-government coalition and has begun to receive some support from other coalition partners, including the independent Greeks, which say they're going to stand by the agreement and stand by Prime Minister Tsipras. Athens is going to, by tomorrow, according to the commitment it made to the Europeans, pass the bailout package and agree to very severe austerity provisions. So the next 24 hours or so in Athens are going to be very difficult. A Syriza minister who's in Tsipras' own party called the proposed deal very difficult and very bad. And he said that social countermeasures must be found which will give hope to the people. This is a very big problem. If this deal goes through, which it has to, essentially, the Greek population is going to be faced with quite a long period of economic deprivation. Tom Bolt, the franchise performance director at Lloyd, said that a cyber attack that hit several industries could lead to individual insurer insolvencies without a governmental backstop. Individuals, insurers' insolvency could be at risk if a U.S. or U.K. cyber breach attacks several industries without a government backstop in place, said Bolt. He said, we might be able to figure out what to do with a given company. We might even be able to figure out what to do with an operating system within a given industry. But if someone does a backdoor penetration with a common application, we're not going to have a chance. Bolt is right. Stephen Catlin has already said something like this. In the ongoing discussion between PartnerRe, Axis, and Exor, we have two more data points today. Partner Re and Axis both released their numbers as individual insurers. Partner Re expects to fall to a second quarter net loss of about $95 to $115 million, driven by mark-to-market investment losses. They also noted that their expenses are related to increased costs as a result of the proposed amalgamation with Axis. Meanwhile, Axis said that it expects to report operating earnings of only $91 to $97 million. That's going to include about $39 million of pre-tax net losses relating primarily to weather events in U.S. and Australia. It's also going to take another $40 million hit in their marine insurance division. Meanwhile, at least 27 people have been killed and 34 injured in India during a stampede during a Hindu religious bathing festival in the southern part of the country. The stampede occurred in Andhra Pradesh state when tens of thousands of people pushed forward to bathe in the Godavari River during a religious festival. An additional 34 people were admitted to the hospital. Here's an interesting story. The director of emergency management in Oregon, a gentleman named Andrew Phelps, said that if the really big one, referring to an earthquake, hits the northwestern part of the United States, everything west of I-5, that would be Interstate 5, is going to be quote-unquote toast. Mr. Phelps went on to say that you'd be hard-pressed to find a hazard of this magnitude that could essentially cut off lifelines and supply chains and structures for 2 weeks. The odds are approximately 1 in 10, according to science, that something like this is going to happen, since according to geophysics, it's apparently 72 years overdue. Mr. Phelps went on to say that people in Portland, if the really big one hits, should expect up to 6 minutes of shaking. Then come the landslides. This is according to the words of Mr. Phelps, who's the emergency management director for the state. Then come the landslides, followed by a 50-foot tsunami. Now, a 50-foot high tsunami is something that would wreak havoc in downtown Portland. According to Phelps, people in Portland would only have 10 to 30 minutes to get out. He went on to say, along the coast, it's going to be a bad day for the state of Oregon, that's for sure. But again, you can't do everything to prevent hazards, but we can try to prevent those hazards from becoming disasters. I'll tell you, if something like that ever happened in Portland, and I suppose it will happen, it's inevitable, it's going to be a heck of a lot more than just a bad day in Portland. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.